Evidence of giants and underground cities in America. The most famous report about giants and underground cities appeared April 5, 1909, edition of the Arizona Gazette, titled Explorations in Grand Canyon. Explorer G.E. Kincaid discovered a huge underground citadel while rafting in the Colorado River. Exploring a tunnel that stretched nearly a mile underground, Kincaid found the citadel, which was filled with tablets covered with some type of hieroglyphics, and home to a stone statue he described resembling a Buddha. Copper weapons lined the walls, but the most intriguing aspect of this ancient dwelling or worship place or tomb were the mummies, all wrapped in a dark fabric. The mummies were supposedly more than 9 feet tall, and to feed the fire of conspiracy and to keep anyone from finding the giants of the citadel themselves, the United States government allegedly closed that area of the canyon from public view. But this well-known story of American giants is not alone. The New York Times reported a 9-foot tall skeleton of a man discovered in a mound near Maple Creek, Wisconsin, in December 1897. The Times also carried the story Strange Skeletons Found Near Lake Delavan, Wisconsin. That was in its May 4, 1912 issue. The skulls of giant skeletons excavated from a mound had a minute resemblance to the head of a monkey. But in April 9, 1885, story in the New York Times titled Missouri's Buried City, a strange discovery in a coal mine near Moberly, reveals a find that predated the supposed citadel in the Grand Canyon by 24 years. Moberly, the largest city in Randolph County, Missouri, had a population of 6,108 in the 1880s. Coal miners, sinking a shaft 360 feet deep, broke into a cavern, revealing a wonderful buried city, the article claimed. Lava arches stretched across the roof of the cavern, looming over the streets of an ancient city, quote, which are regularly laid out and enclosed by walls of stone, which is cut and dressed in a fairly good, although rude, style of masonry, end quote. Workers along with Moberly cited the city, recorded David Coates and Moberly City Marshal George Keating, inspected the site and found a 30 by 100 feet hall in the cavern, and it was filled with stone benches and hand tools. Quote, further search disclosed statues and images made of a composition closely resembling bronze, lacking luster, the article said. Explorers discovered a stone fountain in a wide court, still pouring perfectly pure water into its basin. But it was what lay beside the fountain that interested the people exploring the site. Quote, lying beside the fountain, the foundation of the fountain, were portions of the skeleton of a human being, according to the article. The bones of the leg measured the femur 4.5 feet, the tibia 4 feet and 3 inches, showing that when alive the figure was 3 times the size of an ordinary man and possessed the wonderful muscular power and quickness. Its skull, the story is reported, was shattered. Bronze tools, granite hammers, metallic saws, and flint knives were scattered all around. They are not so highly polished nor so accurately made as those now finished by our best mechanics, but they show skill and an evidence of an advanced civilization that are very wonderful, according to the article. Explorers spent 12 hours in the buried city and resurfaced only after the oil in their lamps burned out. No end to the wonders of the discovery was reached, the article said. A further extended search will be made in a day or two, that said. No record of the extended search could be found, though. Dr. Tom Spencer, a professor in the Department of History, Humanities, Philosophy, and Political Science at Northwest Missouri State University, said that's because after printing the story, the newspapers tried to forget it. Quote, a lot of the time I think these stories were written based entirely off hearsay and little or no direct on-site reporting, he said. And he said as the story grew, the details got more and more outrageous. He equates it to a childhood game where children sit in a circle and one child whispers a story into another's ear, and by the time the story completes the circle, it was a completely different story. Quote, if you recall, sometimes the finished story bore little resemblance to the original story, he said. My guess is one element of the story is factual, like the strange shaft formation or a long femur was found, and it became more and more embellished as it went around the journalistic circle at the time. So what happened to this fabulous buried city under Moberly, Missouri? There were stories like this periodically at the time, and they usually disappeared quietly because someone goes to investigate and there's nothing to it, Spencer said. In order to avoid the embarrassment of newspapers, just don't say anything else about it. However, Moberly resident John W. wants to find out for certain. He says, myself and several friends have researched the article archived in New York Times. The article discusses coal miners finding a crystal city with several advanced features as well as the bones of what can only be called a giant, end quote. John and his group plan to investigate the claim of an underground city. Quote, we have found the mine. Our hopes are to take a field trip and find the underground city if we can access the mine. And he said, we have driven by the site and the site exists. You can still see remnants of the old access road through the field. It would appear this mine has not been in use since the period of the news article. Moberly calls itself the Magic City. Hopefully John and his crew can discover just how magic it was. This is by Jason Offutt, Mysterious Universe, and it's on Humans Are Free by Alexander Light. It's Creative Commons. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.